Hey everybody, it's your best friend Drew Geraci, and I got some more comics from my spinner rack, or recently purchased comics that will find a home in my spinner rack. So, I'm Drew Geraci, and longtime comic book industry veteran. I got to work on a lot of things like, Batman, JLA, 52, and Captain America, all that fun stuff. And I was a longtime fan since I was real little, and I probably could have broken in the industry sooner, but I really had a self-confidence problem. I really waited a long time, but I did it. I just had to have enough faith in myself, and that's because back in the early 90s, if you didn't live in New York, it was hard to get a job in comics. It wasn't that common. Faxes had started coming along, and that helped a bit. And I was assisting Dave Johnson on the second Super Patriot miniseries for Image, and the inker for Justice League America, which was right before the big relaunch with Grant Morrison, Howard Porter. They needed an inker, and there I came. And then at the end of the tail run of Morrison Porter's run, I got to come back and ink some more. So, all right, enough about me. I'm going to save this issue for last because it's the best of the bunch. Well, Dragonforce, it's another indie book. It's from Aircel, which is it is a Canadian publisher. And what's weird is it has what's weird is I should just show you. It's Dale Keown, without a doubt. This came out like in 87, but there's no credits throughout the whole book. Just the editor-in-chief. Whoops. Editor. Give me a second here. Focus, people. Okay, yeah. Editor and letterer, and it says 1988. Okay, Aircel. And, a year later, within a year, we would see Dale Keown going on the Hulk and totally kicking ass. The coloring in here is really good. There's just no credits. I guess I can look them up, but the coloring is very impressive. The newsprint, I think, works a lot with it, except for the very dark areas. Like this is really, you can see there's some kind of tricks being employed, but it's not really clear. That's kind of neat. Kind of has a Mike Plug kind of feel there. And here we go, baby. Beautiful. Beautiful. Dale's been looking at some Bernie Wrightson on this side, I could tell. It looks like one of his, many, many freakish type critters. And Dale Keown knew how to do big. That's probably why he got the job doing Hulk. There's a sort of a precursor to Pitt, his Image book, but not quite. It just shows, he's drawing what he loves. So I don't even know, maybe Dale's writing it as well. So, really cool stuff. And, see, there you go. It's like, he's got all that cyborg type armor and such already captured. And I gotta find out who the inker is, because it's as good as anything Mark Farmer did when they did that back muscle there. So, but it's just weird. There's no credits in there. Maybe the editor didn't want Marvel DC to know who this hot young artist was. Not impossible. See, this turns out okay with, I had this blinding light above my comics here that show everything, but this was really hard to read without a bright light shown on it. And there you go, that musculature, good. So I like this. It's sort of all over again. The War Beneath the Streets begins in July. Monthly from Aircel. Who said you can't view the world in black and white? Okay. What is it? What the frig is this book? There's no title to it. There's no copyright even. It's just like, okay. So, I don't know. I just don't know. But I am going to jump to Pied Piper Comics, which was also affiliated with, I don't know if it was Aircel. This is a spinoff of X-Mutants, which I can't remember who they were published by, but it wasn't Aircel. The X-Mutants became a bit of a hit. And the whole joke was that mutants in Marvel Comics were, procreating like crazy. It was like X-Men, and there's New Mutants, and then later on there were New Mutant characters added, and then eventually X Factor, but this is before that. So X Mutants was still being published, and it was probably, it might have been Aircell, or it might have been, what is it? It might have been Malibu, no? So anyway, it was one of the, Eternity, that's it, yeah. And so they spun off and did the New Humans, which is funny because it's kind of like X-Men and the New Mutants. So, and as dumb as that sounds, it's a pretty good read. I really enjoyed it. It's Ron Lim, some of his early stuff, and Kelly Brock. Took about a minute to figure out that name. So, and the story and the art is a lot of fun. It's one of those stories where, these people are going to be in suspended animation for 6 months. They're going to test the results and all that. And this was sort of before it became a trope. I mean, it was in a couple of movies, but anyway, they end up on this post-apocalyptic future, because is there any other kind? So, and Tim DeZahn, who inked some Marvel work over on Friends on Marvel Team Up, I think. I don't know the other guys. I don't know any, like Dave Campiti, he eventually became part of Malibu, but it is a lot of fun. It's fun. Our cryogenic frozen people find out that it's been 30 years and not 6 months. But the writing is sharp. And here's what they're publishing also. I don't know how long Pied Piper stayed. I didn't see a lot of those on the racks at the time. But like I have an issue of G.I. Rambot. I've never seen Lunatic Fringe. And Terraformers I've heard of, but it was published by Color Comics. So I guess they downgraded the black and white. So really good stuff. There we go. The new X-Mutants. So they're playing around with that. But really it has no similarity to Marvel's characters. They just playing around with the words, and it draws people in. It's you find out what the fun of it is. So anyway, let's get to Batman the Outsiders. Look how nice shape this is. And I didn't realize, I'd forgotten. The Outsiders got relaunched on Baxter paper, and they simultaneously had, let me start over. And around, 82 or so, Batman and the Outsiders became a series because Batman told off his JLA members. They weren't handling things across the globe. They weren't handling, personal ground level type stuff. They were too busy being up in their satellite, and he quit. And that was like a shocking move, and Mike Barr and Jim Aparo started The Outsiders, which was Aparo's next book right after they canceled his Brave and the Bold. Similarly, like with Marvel 2-in-1, they switched that to The Thing and relaunched it. So anyway, Batman the Outsiders lasted a couple of years, and then this Baxter paper version came out, which had other stories in, and man, it's hard to explain. Eventually, the Outsiders, like this version, would reprint the previous year's versions of the Outsiders. It was a thing called a hardback, softback program, which nobody understood. But I mean, now it makes sense. It was Teen Titans was going to keep publishing, but at the same time, they're going to relaunch with a Baxter series with George Perez, and then in a year, the ongoing series would reprint the first George Perez and go on from there. So for like a year, both titles had double, content for for each month for a year. So anyway, I bought this mostly because of Cobra. My favorite Outsiders issues were essentially like the first year or so, which dealt with the prime characters, like Black Lightning and Halo and Metamorpho and stuff. But I also feel bad for Aparo because, he's the Batman artist. He's been doing it forever, like for 10 years or so, and he's just a fantastic. A lot of people have put his Batman up against Neil Adams favorably, and Dick Giordano's, and I tend to agree. And I actually was more of a fan of Aparo at the time, only because he was always doing Batman. It's like Neil would tap in and out once in a while. So Brave and the Bold was a book I liked. You got Cobra. Little did I imagine that one day I would be inking Birds of Prey 4 and 5 with Cobra in it. And so here's Halo with their costume redesign. There's Geoforce, who is the brother of Terra from the Teen Titans. Katana, I like a lot. And there's one called, I don't know what her name is. Oh, Windfall, she's new. And then Looker. It's like, oof, ouch. 80s accident of fashion. And while this was enjoyable, what I didn't find enjoyable was how little real estate Batman actually gets in this book. And, I know it's called The Outsiders, and he is the leader, but, if you're an Aparo fan and a Batman fan, this can't be that exciting to you. And I just was like, and part of it to me, like, I sort of got like fatigue from all these other characters. And I just like wanted, I mean, shortly thereafter, Batman did leave the book, but then The Outsiders, they just had a couple of cool characters, and then, I don't know. So, but this is great here. It's Tales of the Outsiders. Joe Orlando, who was part of EC's horror titles in the 50s, they do a parody of that. I think newly minted editor Mike Carlin came up with that. He had just jumped over to DC and to take over Superman roles books. And is somebody out there? Let's see, like Howard Simpson and Bob Smith. Got a real target one. Done by Jonathan Peterson and Bob Orzechowski. I don't know if he's related to Tom, but I think if they were, I would have heard of it a long time ago. So this has the EC lettering. It's Leroy lettering, Croy lettering. It's a real primitive printing process. So it's fun in that aspect, but, I didn't really enjoy it. So now we move to another super team. Secret Defenders. It was every issue had a different group of characters. They started off, the name Defenders, it wasn't really that successful after its initial run, and they wanted to distance themselves. Marvel did. And then, so they did Secret Defenders. This is during the glut of comics. This was just one of many. And I bought the first issue, wasn't keen on it, and I ignored it. But I'm finding little issues here and there depending on the lineup that I kind of like. Because initially they were like, oh, well, we got to have like Punisher and Ghost Rider and Wolverine. And, it's just, I can't imagine somebody in the, if there was still continuity in comics, I can't imagine anybody keeping track of every appearance of those characters crossing over at the time, including the Punisher, and somehow putting them in order. At this point, it was the Wild West, and then Heroes Reborn really pulled the rug out from Marvel entirely, in my opinion. So you got Xandu, and what's cool about it, it's written by Roy Thomas, who was inspired by the original Amazing Spider-Man Annual number 2, which had Doctor Strange and Spider-Man versus Xandu. And then later on in Marvel Fanfare, Sandy Plunkett penciled a team up between Scarlet Witch, Spider-Man, and against this guy. And I think Strange was it. I don't remember, but it was beautifully drawn. And Bill Banilow wrote it. So Roy Thomas going solo. He writes with his wife a lot, and the art's pretty solid. I don't know this guy, Andre Coates and Don Hudson. There are just many newbies that came along because there are many books to print. So we get the Wanda Batum again, and then here's where an ad for Plasm. Meanwhile, Marvel sued the pants out of Jim Shooter's Defiant Comics, which had Plasm because they had a character named Plasmer, and I think it was just a harassment suit to take all of Defiant's money, just like they tried with Exo Man of War infringing on X-Men, which is really absurd, and that seemed like a real personal lawsuit. So Cap happens to be in the area, and that's okay. I don't mind it. And he really isn't involved until he's in the wrong place at the wrong time. And it's fun, it's not like earth-shattering or anything, but I like it. And reading this in The Outsiders in a row, one after the other, I sort of was getting superhero fatigue. I like that. Look at that's very Michael Golden on the hands there. So look at this glut. A lot of shit. So you know what? I ended up liking this better, and it continues though. Well, I've got the following issue. Next, Death Lives. So I just feel with it had more passion behind it than Mike Barr and Jim Aparo did on The Outsiders, which is not an insult. Here we go. Green Arrow. Mike Grell's glorious run of Green Arrow is now available in the DC format that is very similar to Epic, Marvel Epic Collection, and it's about time they did it, and they call it DC's Finest. And they've done 2 Green Arrows so far of the Mike Grell era. Initially, Mike Grell did the 3 Baxter 48-page specials of Green Arrow, the Longbow Hunters. Then he had a monthly book, and Hannigan started off like the first year, and then later on, Dan Jurgens, one of the most versatile guys DC's ever had, he took over for a while, and with Dick Giordano, it just really kept that feel. And I get the idea that Jurgens was trying to keep the feel of that was established before, like that. That's really great. If I told you that was Dan Jurgens off the top of your head, you'd be like, huh, really? Because he just had, I'm not saying that in a bad way, it's just I think Mike Grell's script probably had like poses involved and angles. So that's the only thing I can think of, because Grell's an artist as well as a writer. And so Black Canary bashes Warlord for being more than a little bit sexist about going back to the kitchen. And it turns out that the Warlord, also created by, Mike Grell didn't create Green Arrow, he just made him popular again. But Warlord was created by Mike Grell, and it was really good. It lasted a lot, and they have DC Fire. They have omnibuses of those. So there's just been this big mix-up, and they don't tell you the whole thing about him being the Warlord. He talks about where he was from, just sort of like in vague terms, because he doesn't think they'll, believe him. You could be twins, yeah, except one of us a lot shorter, fatter, balder, uglier. So, and I like how you don't have to have read Warlord to enjoy this. Man, I love that. That guy's face, Jurgens and Giordano. Really, really cool stuff. And Jurgens was there for a while. And there's Time Masters. Deal. So all kinds of stuff was going on. There's chaos in the streets because the mob wants to hit one side of town and distract everybody with... oh, that's right. They're going after Green Arrow because Green Arrow is kind of a public figure, and he's interfered with these mobsters. So they distract the police. They send them all the way across town to take on fires and robberies and stuff. So, do you have a cat? No, then you've got rats. big ones. Oh, quick. Kevin McGuire cover. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. And this was the Superboy comic book. Well, because this isn't your fight, Morgan. You better stay out of it and miss all the fun. Just beautiful choreographed battle. So A-Hole has to bring a bazooka. And amidst the debris, we see the Warlord back in his glory. His contemporary clothes tattered. Whoops. What are you going to do without your gun, wise ass? Take your head off. Take your fool head off. And he takes off. He goes, there's one question I'd like to answer, though. Did Gilligan ever get off that island? So the guy disappears, huh? Where the hell did he go? Well, he did leave an address, sort of. All right, let's have it. Second star on the right, and straight on till morning. So it's only 2 issues. Like the previous issue was all build up to this, where Travis Morgan was being mistaken for Green Arrow, and it's good stuff. It's really good. So having bought this, I had this years ago, and many years ago I purged some books when I was moving, and then I like getting books back and revisiting ones, and I'm like, why did I get rid of that one? It may have just been because it took up a lot of space after a while, and now that I'm permanently settled, I could fill up the house. Well, not really. My wife would be less than pleased. And not all comics are great, but this definitely was. And I recommend getting the DC's Finest Green Arrow, that includes this story, I think. If not the first volume, the second volume. So that's it, everybody. Green Arrow, what's your opinion? Were you around for that when it came out? Secret Defenders, did you like it? Outsiders, fling as many opinions as you want on that, because it's a book I want to love, but at this point, it was kind of getting to the breaking point. And the New Humans. Let me know if you ever bought these, or if you ever saw Dale Keown pre-Hulk. I mean, he already had the goods. I'm surprised he even did that issue. They could have grabbed him over at Hulk. But I think I don't know. Who cares? Good stuff. Comics are great. Enjoy. And have a great day, everybody.